pretty good. It's pretty good. Oh. Facebook Live, what it do, baby?
Water spilled.
That's good. Why is it doing that? Oh,
By the way, that poster, that Animal House poster looks great there.
accurate.
What?
I said accurate. All right. Here we go. Ready? Damn.
Sorry.
Hit it on that top.
Let me have a sip of water real quick. Thank you.
God, it's like, don't move. Here we go, live. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello. My name is Mike, the Hebrew Hammer Brown, and I am joined by the co-host of the Beer Sports Whatever podcast, the OG from the SL, Lewis Brown. What it do, baby?
Good evening, Michael. Look at us going prime time tonight.
Prime time. Yep. Hold on.
Evening show. Hope I can stay up this late, but we'll give it a shot.
I'm trying to tag you. Yep. Hold on. I'm trying to tag you in this video. Oh, there you go. You are tagged. There you go. The first viewer of the show, Mr. Aaron Rychek from Atlanta, Georgia. You know who Aaron is, right? Aaron is one of the original listeners of the show. He's been on the show multiple times. He is a Maccabi coach out in Atlanta, trying to win a third gold medal in a row.
Good luck, Aaron.
He's been killing it. He's done a phenomenal job there in Atlanta. Well, not only in Atlanta, but also as a Maccabi coach, he's killed it. So it's a little. I was looking at videos today and pictures of everybody being there. It's a little weird not being there, you know. First time in almost 5 years not being there.
It's it's a great thing that not only you but all of the Maccabi coaches and delegates and everybody do. It's a lot of personal time out of your life. It's time away from work, but it's a great cause. I think Maccabi is a great thing for kids all over, not only the U.S., but all over the world. So I had the pleasure of being a part of it back in 2004, and it's a great thing. So thank you to all the coaches and volunteers and delegates.
Yep. So that's enough Maccabi talk here for this show. Beer of the week. You and I are both enjoying a Southern Star.
Southern Star.
Kolsch. Say Kolsch.
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 Kolsch. We're going to have a Kolsch. Southern Star Kolsch. Kolsch Star beer. Delicious beer. Very easy going down the gullet, I would say. It's an easy style beer. It's a summer style beer.
It's smooth.
Yeah, it's something that you have sitting out on the patio, you know, with a couple of your buddies and
Absolutely.
You know, enjoying the 400-degree weather. So, Southern Star Kolsch, beer of the week for each of Pops and I. So, we only have 45 minutes here in the show. I do want to get to. Give me 1 second. So, this week, Russell Westbrook was introduced as a Rocket. Was it Friday?
It was Friday.
How awesome was that? Did you watch it?
To the people at work, no, I didn't watch it. Yeah, I watched
So
it.
if anybody is watching
That's
from
right.
Porn Solutions out in
Porn Solutions, no, I did not watch it.
Okay.
It was a very strange press conference. It was like the Chris Paul press conference of a couple of years ago. These are guys that, as a Rockets fan with rocket-colored glasses and not a lot of objectivity. These are guys you have not liked over the years. Chris Paul, you always complained he was a whiner, he was a flopper. He complains every call. But, when he becomes your whiner and your flopper and he's scoring buckets for you, things change. Same thing with Russell Westbrook. I've commented to you, Michael, a lot of times at the games. I never thought he was the best player in the league, but he's athletically an athletic freak.
So let me ask you a question, right? So my big thing was when this trade went down, it was a perfect example of fandom, right? Like you and I learned from you. You're a diehard fan. Like no matter what, you're going to support your team. But you and I so systematically hated anybody that went against the Rockets. Like we would always play the Oklahoma City Thunder. We'd be like, "Oh God, we hate Russell Westbrook. I hate him. His game is awful. He shoots the ball too much." And then it's like you see that notification come across that the Rockets traded for Westbrook, and it was like, you know what? Maybe he didn't shoot the ball so much. You know what? He's a really good distributor of the ball. Like. The fandom took over I've tried every which way to say that this was a bad trade for the Rockets. I can't come to it.
I don't see how.
I don't see how either.
First, Daryl found someone to take on that 3 years, $124 million left on Chris Paul.
Yep.
We got 5 years younger. We got more athletic. Bottom line is we got better. Russell Westbrook right now is better than Chris Paul. And I don't know what happened to Chris Paul, but he got old almost overnight.
Yeah.
He just, watching his game this year when he wasn't out for 25 games, he used to have that where he could dribble through the lane and he could turn around and take a big guy off the dribble. He can't do that anymore.
Not on a consistent basis.
No.
He can do it on an individual night basis. He'll have a good night, but game in and game out, I don't think you can count on him.
He just couldn't do it anymore.
What I do love about what Westbrook said in his presser on Friday, in case anybody hasn't seen it, is my big 3 takeaways are, number 1, him and Harden have been boys since they were 10 years old. Like they've known each other in California, playing at the Boys and Girls Club together since they were 10 years old. That's number 1. Number 2, they both stayed on the West Coast playing in college. Like one, Russell Westbrook went to UCLA, and
Harden went to Arizona State.
So they both kept in relatively close contact then. They played together at OKC, and then they both went their separate ways. All I'm going to say is that it seems like since Harden has become a Houston Rocket, let me ask you this. Who's the best player that he's played with since he's been a Houston Rocket?
Boy, since Harden has come to the Rock, I would say the best.
I'm asking you. I know the answer, but I want to know if you know.
I think most people would say Chris Paul.
So Chris Paul, you would argue his prime years were spent with the Clippers, yes or no?
That's correct.
So the best player beyond Chris Paul, you would say, would be Dwight Howard, yes or no?
No.
So who's the best player beyond Chris Paul that he's played with as a Houston Rocket?
You mean before the Russell Westbrook trade?
No, I'm talking about overall.
Well, it's got to be Russell Westbrook.
No, but I'm just saying, before Russell Westbrook, before he's gotten here, who's the best players that Harden has played with as a Rocket?
Chris Paul.
Okay, so we just established that his best years were behind him before he became a Rocket, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so who's the best player that he played with before? If you say the best player he's played with is Chris Paul, who's the second best player he's ever played with as a Rocket?
I guess by default you'd have to say Dwight Howard.
And his best years were playing with what
Orlando.
Team? Okay, so not the Rockets, right?
That's correct.
So would you agree or disagree with the fact that Russell Westbrook is still in his prime?
I think he's just about ready to hit his prime.
Okay, so would you agree or disagree with the notion then that this is the first time that the Rockets have acquired a player of a top 20 significance still in his prime to play with James Harden?
Totally agree.
Okay. So who won the title last year?
Toronto.
Okay. So is Kawhi Leonard still in his prime? Yes or no?
Yes.
Is Pascal Siakam just a rookie, not even in his prime yet?
Correct.
Kyle Lowry, not Gerald Green, Danny Green. All of these guys that are, you see my point here?
Yes.
Is that this is the first time that the Houston Rockets have given James Harden a running mate that is in his prime.
Agreed.
Like no other player that he's ever played with as a Rocket.
Yes, and if you look at the trend of the Rockets through the years before most of you were either born or listening, watching sports, it's the same trend. The Rockets got Clyde Drexler on the tail end of his career from Portland. They got Scottie Pippen, who, after he was done riding Michael Jordan's coattails, he came here, thought he was a three-point shooter, and then he whined his way out. We got Charles Barkley, who clearly his best days were in Philadelphia, maybe the year he won the MVP in Phoenix. So it is, except for lucking out into Moses Malone and maybe Stevie Franchise, this is the first time we have traded for a guy who is not on the down end of his career.
I think it's interesting also that Daryl has taken the route of trade here, which I love. That he doesn't leave the ability to add to his roster only via free agency. He adds pieces to his team that are tradable. The fact that he doesn't have to get the okay of a guy, in free agency to say, okay, I'm considering the Lakers, the Clippers, Denver, and you guys. It's, look, I'm trading for you. You're going to be a Houston Rocket and enjoy yourself.
That's right.
What I mean?
It's like when, if you think back about 7-8 years ago, 3 days before the season started, and Daryl gave us an early Christmas present with James Harden. Think back, the face of the franchise were two free agents we just signed, Jeremy Lin and Omer Asik. And, the Rockets have been through this enough. The Carmelo Anthony thing 4 or 5 years ago where he visited all the teams, and it always feels like Jimmy Butler, it always feels like the Rockets are being used. At that time with Lin and Asik, the only way we were going to get a guy like Harden was through trade. You weren't going to convince them to come here on their own.
So the biggest part of the presser that I took away is his quote of saying, and Ragnar is going to love this, is, I don't have to have the ball in my hands to be successful. Which I think goes broadly as a very interesting topic as a Rockets fan of, when you looked at Chris Paul and you looked at James Harden, right? Both of those guys almost had to have the ball in their hands to be successful.
That's right.
Russell Westbrook, I don't think has to do that. Like Russell Westbrook, go look at his numbers. Look at his rebounding numbers. Look at his assist numbers. I mean, he's an overall player. If Harden has the ball in his hands the majority of the time, Russell Westbrook still has the ability to be successful on the court with Harden.
Well, there's no question. In fact, we finally have someone who can get to the hole, get to the rack, and he can finish.
Yeah.
This guy can finish. And we have not had anybody that athletic since, man, I can't even remember.
Steve Francis.
Steve Francis.
May have been the last guy that was that. Now, Gerald Green is pretty athletic, but I mean, on a night in, night out basis of a superstar caliber, it may be Steve Franchise.
Or maybe Tracy McGrady too.
Yeah, Tracy McGrady.
McGrady was very athletic, and that's what Westbrook is going to. If we're in a game and we're shooting 0 for 27 from 3 points, we now have a guy who says, you know what, we don't have to keep shooting threes. I'll get to the hole. And once he starts getting to the hole, he's going to start dishing it. Once he gets double teamed, he's going to give it to Capella. He's going to give it to Tucker. Tyson Chandler is going to be there to clean up a lot of stuff.
It's a good call.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Eric Gordon, I mean, if you put him on the court with Westbrook, Harden, Gordon, Tucker, Capella, I mean, that opens up a lot of avenues of, pop and shoot with, or, catch and shoot with Harden. Put Tucker in the corner. You put Capella in the pick and roll. You put Eric Gordon in the other corner. I mean, those are better shooters than he ever had in OKC, don't you think?
It is true. He hasn't had this many great shooters. And don't forget, he's had the ball in his hands the majority of the time because they've never had anybody else who could handle the ball and distribute.
With our cousin David Silverman now tuning into the show, I think it's a good pivot point to talking about the Astros. Astros won again today. The Astros, on a week-to-week basis, I think the median, without getting too high, too low, this is a really good team. Today, actually, we're probably one of the first podcasts that I've done a show since the breaking news about an hour and a half ago of Marcus Stroman from the Blue Jays starting pitcher getting traded to the
New York
Mets, which is really interesting. So, in that trade, do you think that they're acquiring Stroman in order to replace Syndergaard? You think Syndergaard's on the move?
I think Syndergaard could be on the move. I think
They're
they
closer,
would keep Wheeler,
Edwin Diaz as well.
I'd love Edwin Diaz here, but I could see Diaz and Syndergaard gone. They're going to keep Wheeler. You know, and according to the thing at the bottom of ESPN, the Mets still think for some unknown reason that they're still close enough. They're 6 games back of getting in this wild card thing.
Which they could. There's still time.
Well,
there's still time.
2.5 months.
So, with that being said, now so if the Astros are rumored to be acquiring a starting pitcher, right? If that takes Stroman off the board, Syndergaard's still on the board, Matt Boyd from said Detroit Tigers, David Silverman's favorite team. So you have Matt Boyd starting pitcher, you have Noah Syndergaard, you have
Robbie
Ray. So those are 3 guys right there. If you had to pick one of those guys, who would be the one guy that you want to acquire? If you had to pick one, and I'm not telling you the guys that you're going to trade. So Syndergaard is number 1.
I would take Syndergaard for 2 reasons. A, because Wade Miley won his 9th or 10th game today.
Miley looked good today, though. He looked good.
The thing about Syndergaard is, if you start a playoff series with those 4, and I could see Syndergaard easily being number 3, Miley being your number 4 pitcher. But the thing
that... That ball gone. Bye, ball.
Yeah, somebody on the Yankees just...
Yankees, 4-0 over the Red Sox.
The thing with Syndergaard is, I think Garrett Cole is gone after this year.
Whoa, why?
I think all the rumors are he wants to go back to Southern Cal, either the Dodgers or the Angels. He's going to get $200 million next year. Some team
Would
is
you
going to
give
be
it to him?
What?
If you're the Astros, would you give him $200 million? So what did Verlander sign? He signed a 2-year, $60 million deal, right?
Something like that, right?
Okay. So extrapolate that out, where Cole is younger, so he got $30 million a year. So let's say $35 million a year over 5 years. So what is that?
That's 35 and 70, about 175.
So if you're the Astros, let me ask you a question. As a co-host of one of the hottest podcasts here in the city, Beer Sports Whatever, live, episode number 53, would you give Garrett Cole 5 years, $200 million if you're the Astros?
Wow. That's a lot of money.
That's what we do on this show. We ask the hard questions that nobody else is going to ask.
It's not my money, but me personally, I think great pitching is a lot harder to get than great hitting, fielding, or whatever. And you know what?
Dodge the question.
If you have to sacrifice Carlos Correa and not re-sign him, then yeah, I would keep Cole. No question.
Okay, so are you answering, you go into the now official Hall of Records, you would give Garrett Cole 5 years, $200 million?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
The guy's first one who's hit over 200 strikeouts. I can't think of how many. We've blown 3 or 4 games that he has pitched this year because of our bullpen. That guy should be sitting on about 15 wins right now.
So that brings up an interesting question. If I give you one position to acquire a superstar position, or a superstar at starting pitcher, relief pitcher, catcher, which one would you go for first?
Right now, today,
Yeah.
with the way this team is,
Yeah.
starting pitcher.
Not even close?
Not even close.
Okay. All right. So the deadline is Wednesday. So now with Marcus Stroman on the move, that's interesting to me. Because if you're the Mets and you already have Stroman, now you have options. You know? Now you can tell teams, look, we're going to keep Syndergaard, we're going to keep Zach Wheeler, who they also have, who's another starting pitcher who they said has, possibly been on the move. To say, okay, now we can keep Wheeler together with Syndergaard and now with Stroman. That's a nice little pitching rotation, if you will.
That's a great pitching rotation. But I got to tell you, if I'm Stroman, I'm not a happy camper right now. I think he was looking forward to going to a team that's got a shot to win it. And
Well, it's a lateral move.
the
is what
Mets
you're
don't
saying.
come to mind when you talk about teams that have a shot to win it.
Well, it's a lateral move if you go from Toronto, the Blue Jays to the Mets. It's, okay, congratulations, you're playing for one crappy team, you're going to another crappy team.
That's right.
So, pivoting from the Astros, great win today. They take 2 out of 3 from the Cardinals.
Should
They're
have
ready.
swept the series. We blew it Friday night.
But they're ready for the playoffs, don't you think? I mean, overall, we talk about these teams on a week-to-week basis, right? We do the show live every Sunday here at Beer Sports, whatever, podcast headquarters here at the apartment. We talk about it on a week-to-week. We said last week, they look really good, they look solid. This week they look the same. I think they're ready for the playoffs,
You got Correa back, who
Correa
the other
came
night,
back
5 RBIs.
until
grand
his
slam.
fiance gives him a massage that breaks another rib.
Yeah, so stay off the massage table.
I would like to be
I
on
think
that
this
massage
team
table.
is needing one more starter, and I would like a bullpen guy to replace Will Harris. Will Harris scares the heck out of me. Presley's kind of banged up right now, but I think, with our offense, I think we're scoring enough runs. The kid who pitched the other night, you can pronounce his name, I can't.
Quindy.
Uquidi.
Or Quinday.
His first game he pitched, he pitched a great game. The other night he left with a nice lead. He pitched really well. We blew that game. That's a kid you could maybe throw in the bullpen.
Yeah.
But right now, if you're going into a best of 7, you've got Verlander, Cole, Miley, and pray for rain.
With the homie Davin Meckett joining the show. Davin, what's up, brother?
How you doing, Davin?
It's not, this week NFL camps opened up. What I would like to talk to you a little bit about is, the state of the Texans, state of the Dolphins, see where they're at. A couple other things that are going on in the NFL. So Jadeveon Clowney still has not shown up to Texans camp. He doesn't have a new contract. My best guess is I think he shows up the week before the opening game and shows up for a week, practices with the team, gets up to speed, and then he goes out for week 1. Do you think he shows up before? Do you think this holdout with him, contract-wise, goes into the season?
I think this is going to turn out to be...
Which, side note, Davin indicates that he's not coming to camp, which I completely agree with. That would say he comes in right after camp.
Davin knows.
What would you say?
I think this is going to turn into a Dwayne Brown situation. I think Clowney's going to sit out the preseason. I think he'll show up. He'll start playing games, and just like they did with Dwayne Brown, they'll flip him as soon as they can.
Yeah, and so you think he's going to be traded? Is that your official prediction that he gets traded in season, before season, after season?
During the season.
So you think he gets moved during the season?
I do.
Which is going to be a little hard because they don't have a GM. So it's going to be a little hard to operate without a general manager, don't you think?
Well, they've entrusted this whole team in the hands of Bill O'Brien, so obviously they must feel it's
Do you think
something that they can get
that's
done.
a mistake? Do you think that's a mistake to have the power of the team and the head coach when a guy who's gotten out of the first round one time in 5 years?
I think it's too much responsibility. I don't care if you're Don Shula, you're Tom Landry, Chuck Noll. I think having all of that control is too much burden on one person. I don't care who it is. He should be worried about day to day, getting his team ready, who's he keeping, who's he cutting. But when you have to start worrying about the contracts and everything else, a coach should be able to stay focused on one thing, and that's the team he's got out there on the field and get ready for Sunday.
So, with that being said, quick fire. Let me ask you a couple questions. Number one, Melvin Gordon, running back from the San Diego Chargers, who is holding out 1 year left on his deal. He wants a new deal. Do you agree or disagree with him holding out from camp for a new contract?
The guy's a great running back. He has proven his worth. I hate the way they do this, where they have to hold out, but I don't see what other option he's got.
So you don't agree with him playing out his contract? I mean, he has a contract. You play out your contract.
Well, since when does a contract mean anything? Between either a coach leaving or a player leaving.
What are we talking about? Professional or
both?
I'm asking the question.
College coaches do the same thing. They get all these young kids to come over and sign, and then they bolt for a new school, and these kids are stuck. I would hate to see Gordon play his last year for contract and get hurt. I think he's worth the money. But
he has a contract.
Do what?
Which is that's what some people have said is he has a contract.
Honor the contract, and I get it.
Right, honor the contract.
I'm a big believer of honor the contract, but that doesn't.
I mean, you're loyal.
That's not the.
You're a loyal person.
I'm worth as much as Melvin Gordon. I get it.
No, you're not.
It's the only way these guys can do it, and I don't like it. But what are you going to do?
So the second one is, this one's more interesting to me. Ezekiel Elliott, running back from the Dallas Cowboys, has 2 years left on his deal, and he's holding out.
That I don't agree with.
Why don't you agree with that?
Okay, 1 year left.
What's the difference?
Well, I mean, if he's going to pull this stuff, he should do it next year. I mean, 2 years to me is a lot.
Now, I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm not saying I disagree or I agree with you either way. Because our boy Davin is following on with the show and he's commenting, which is always greatly appreciated. I'm just saying I don't agree or disagree with what you're saying. I'm just giving a other side of it. So you don't agree with Zeke doing it?
I think it's hard. I think it's hard to justify to the other players to renegotiate a guy who's got 2 years left versus 1 year. That's all I'm going to say about that.
So you think there's a defining line of it's okay to hold out if you have 1 year left, but not with 2 years?
I know this is
even though if you're a good player and you've proven your worth, like Zeke Elliott has done,
like
which
Melvin
he has
Gordon
done.
has done too.
Who?
Melvin Gordon.
I completely agree with you, but you just said that you think there's a defining line between holding out with 2 years left versus 1 year left.
I just think 2 years. There's too much time left on that contract. If you don't want to sign then don't sign the contract. No, this is probably Elliott's still his rookie contract.
His rookie contract.
Okay, he has proven his worth. I think Dallas would be smart to try to lock him up long term.
The question is that now you have to lock up not only him, but Amari Cooper, who they recently acquired from the Raiders.
Prescott too.
And Dak Prescott.
That's right.
So let me ask you this. If you had to re-sign 2 of those 3 guys to a long-term contract, Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper, who would you re-sign?
2 out of 3?
2 out of 3.
Prescott and Elliott.
You will let Cooper walk?
I would.
So let me ask you this. In a day and age where the running back position is given a value lesser than a lot of other positions on the field, right? Like teams will look at left tackle and want to re-sign your left tackle to a major deal. They feel like a running back can be replaced much more easily. You're saying of those 3 guys, you would re-sign the running back to a long-term deal. Do you think Ezekiel Elliott is that special level player?
See, for your comment, I think a wide receiver can be replaced easier. Now, I'm not saying the average run-of-the-mill running back can't be replaced, but I think Elliott is above being just an average running back. Elliott's a great ball player.
Yeah.
He's a knucklehead, and he doesn't think, and he gets into stupid trouble.
A lot.
He's a great player.
Lot. I mean, numerous times.
He's a great player, and he's perfect for the Cowboys. He fits right in.
Devin thinks you're tripping, which is okay. Which is okay. That's the best part of this show. Is that
I will do whatever Devin tells me.
We're all here drinking Southern Star Kolsch's. We're talking sports. This is episode 53 of Beer Sports Whatever, live at the Beer Sports Whatever podcast headquarters. The last question I want to leave you with, that it came up this week with Steve Kerr, head coach, the D-bag head coach of the Golden State Warriors, came out this week saying that it was bad for the league that a guy like Anthony Davis had a trade demand from his team with the New Orleans Pelicans, going to the team and saying, I want out, I want to go to a different team. He thinks that's bad for the league. My question to you, and before you answer, I would like to give my answer, because I have something to say about this.
What?
Yeah. So, do you think it's bad for the league for guys to be able to go to their organizations and saying, I want out, I want to go to a different team? And before you answer that, what I want to say, in case Steve Kerr is listening to this show, which there's a high likelihood that he probably is, the hottest podcast in the city, okay, Steve, what I want to tell you is that you were down 3-1 to the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Oklahoma City Thunder blew a 3-1 lead to your team. That was the year that you went 73-9 in the regular season. Your team ended up beating that team, going to the finals, and then Kevin Durant pussifies himself and goes from the Oklahoma City Thunder to your team, the Golden State Warriors, who statistically were the greatest basketball team to ever play the game of basketball in the regular season. And he joined your team, and you have the audacity to go on to some stupid interview with God knows who and say, it's really bad for the game when Anthony Davis wants to make a trade demand, and it's really bad for the team when that happens. You know what, Steve? Shut the hell up. No one cares what you have to say about anything. Coach your team. Enjoy yourself. Half of your Splash Brothers are out for the year. It's not going to matter because the Rockets are going to win the NBA title this year. So sit back, enjoy, get a bag of popcorn, some Raisinets, some Bunch of Crunch, a Coke Zero, and shut the hell up. So with that being said, How do you feel about
that's a tough act to follow.
Trade demands in the NBA? Boston Red Sox just hit a home run, 4-2 Yankees. Bottom four. Live.
Red Sox coming back. Sweet Lou, Red Sox coming back. I think players demanding trades to certain teams, to me, is
Bush League.
Not a good thing, but unless it's my team that's benefiting. I'll think back on the time when Charles Barkley, and I'm a big Barkley fan, I
love Charles.
He told Phoenix, I want to go to Houston. I think right now the tail is wagging the dog. I think this whole thing with Kawhi and Paul George was ridiculous. I mean, Kawhi can tell Paul George, go tell him you want to be traded to the Clippers. He told it to Oklahoma City. Now, on the other hand, Oklahoma City rolled over and took it.
Did it?
They did
not.
They
didn't have to do it.
They didn't have to trade him. But it's the way of the league right now, and I don't know when Kawhi. I get it. Kawhi Leonard, great ball player. You've won 2 championships, but what? You're running the league now, and you can start. You can start screwing teams around by telling this guy you want to be traded to the Clippers or that guy. Not a big fan of that.
As a fan of basketball back in the 80s, you were in your 40s at that point.
70s too, 1970s, so shut up.
Best 5 from that era and this era, who would win? Like 80s and 90s versus the 2000s era, who would win? So who would be the starting 5 in the 80s and 90s? Magic at the 1, Jordan at the 2.
See, I want to go back a little farther than the 80s, but if I had to pick, I would pick Magic
at the 1,
Michael Jordan at the 2. I would pick.
Wait. So Magic at the 1, Jordan at the 2, Bird at the 3,
Dr. J
at the 4.
Yeah.
Dream at the 5.
No, I'd go with Kareem with that era.
Okay. So that official 5 is Magic, Jordan, Bird, Irving, and Kareem. So of the 2000s post, you would say Iverson at the 1, Kobe at the 2, LeBron at the 3, Durant at the 4, Shaq at the 5.
Shaq at the 5, I get.
So between those two squads, who would win?
I'm going with the old guys.
Big or small?
What, with the score-wise, you mean?
Yeah.
I think they'd beat them by 10, 15 points.
You think so?
I think they're athletically, the old guys are nowhere near.
They're so much better basketball players, though.
But from the neck up, they're smarter, and I'll tell you what they are. They're tougher.
Yeah.
They are tougher.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. So we're gonna keep it on the shorter side this week of a show, because next week it's gonna be our official prediction show. So we're gonna do official predictions for University of Houston football, University of Texas football, Dolphins football, and Houston Texans football. So next week's show is going to be incredible. So we're also gonna have post MLB trade deadline
Wednesday
show. We're going to talk about that. Next week's show is going to be jam-packed. You want to do your shout-outs?
Let's do it. Quick couple shout-outs here. One of our new listening affiliates in Lake Erie, Ohio. The gang in Hollywood, love you guys.
White Shoes.
Hollywood, White Shoes, Sweet Lou, Brent, Jeff Worm, I hope you recovered from the Rolling Stones concert. Dickie, keep the shows going.
Congratulations to Mr. Gary and Miss Kelly on getting married today.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Mazel tov on that.
L'chaim.
And one more thing. Jersey.
Sorry, before you say that, our Uncle Lloyd, no, there will be no Lions preview, because outside of you and David, no one cares. So, we will not be doing a Detroit Lions preview. We might. You know what? Sorry, I was a little rude there. What I will say is, if there is time, maybe we'll go through a game-by-game prediction for the Detroit Lions next week.
Well, come on, you got to figure from Uncle Lloyd, if we're going to do the Dolphins, we got to do Detroit.
That's true. We may have to do the Lions.
You know,
Lions.
Misery loves company.
Okay, fine. The Lions preview will be coming next week. University of Texas, University of Houston, Texans, Dolphins, Lions, all coming next week.
That's right. Quick shout out, Jersey of the Week. I've got to start.
You want to turn around? You want to do a little? You want to do a little twirl?
I'll probably fall.
Okay,
but
that's fine.
This week, Jersey of the Week. Air Jordan Alvarez, rookie for the Astros.
Are you going to do that week to week now? Every week on the show, you're going to have a different jersey?
Let's do it.
That'd be cool as hell.
We'll do it.
You and I will have different jerseys of the week.
Every week.
This week I have my Made in Detroit very favorite pullover. Love it.
Yes. Alvarez got called up. He's played 35 games this year. He's batting .333.
Stud.
12 home runs, 36 RBIs. The guy does hit for average as well as power. This is a guy they got in 2016. Thank you, Los Angeles Dodgers, for a relief pitcher named Josh Fields, who we then just totally buried during the World Series. So this kid Alvarez, kid's a stud. One of the untouchables on this team. And if I had to say one more thing about untouchables, please, Jeff Lunau, give him Kyle Tucker for a starting pitcher. There's not any room in the outfield. We're not going to see this kid for 4 or 5 years.
With that being said, this has been episode number 53, Beer Sports Whatever podcast. Find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Facebook, and Twitter. We also have a website now.
We do.
BeerSportsWhateverPodcast.com. All new content from contributors, from myself, a daily blog. Once again, Beer of the Week has been a Southern Star Kolsch style beer. Delicious, wonderful. Oh my goodness. So good. Once again, this has been the Beer Sports Whatever podcast. Myself, Mike, the Hebrew Hammer Brown, Lewis, the OG from the Sugar Land Brown. 1, 2, 3. Done, son. Goodbye.
Everyone have a great week.